Hello there everybody, Sam's Trades here, welcome back to the Railway and welcome back to another review, this time of a real classic Bachmann diesel shunter. So, as far as I can figure out, Bachmann have been producing 08 shunters for around 20 years, quite a long while. They're still available today, although I would assume at the very least they have been revised to be DCC ready and maybe to have other improvements over the years. But as I say, they are still available to be bought today. Rails of Sheffield do have some in stock, I believe for £99. If you want to check those out, I will put an affiliate link down in the description. At the time of filming, they do have some in stock and they also have some pre-orders. I believe the RRP is about £125. And for a model that is getting on for 20 years old, that is quite a lot, so we'll have to see what these are like. My version isn't a particularly modern version though, here it is. As you can see, it does have the slightly older Bachmann packaging, and indeed mine was produced, I think, in 2001. That's what I figured out when I googled the product code. So 20 odd years old, nearly anyway. What is this going to be like for a 20-year-old loco? Is it going to be living up to modern standards? Well, today we're going to try and find out, so stay with me. I will get this beauty out and we will see what it is like, so let's do it. So yes, the 08 shunter, a real classic diesel shunter, nearly 1,000 of them produced in real life, which is just an amazing number. As for the Bachmann version, you can see that this was part of the blue ribboned range, which is what I think they used to call their top of the range stuff, so that's a good sign. How this actually is going to meet modern standards, I'm not too sure, but from what I can remember, I think they are reasonably impressive, but I guess we'll see with fresh eyes. Let me show the end of the box then. So the product code for mine is 32-101A. It's an 08 diesel shunter, and that's the running number there, D3586. BR green with wasp stripes, and I personally really like wasp stripes on diesel shunters. As you can see through the front of the box, as per usual, the joke continues because we do have a different loco on the front of the box. It's not a BR green one, it's BR blue, but yep, I promise the loco inside is BR green, and very nice it is as well. Let me show you the box then. Yeah, nothing really to read, so I think we'll get this straight out and find out what this one is like. All right. So it does have the old style sort of polystyrene tray as opposed to the blister pack, which is a bit frightening on these super detailed models because I have to wonder, don't you, how well protected they're going to be. But either way, no problem. Let me take off the front card then. So there you have it, the photo of the Class 08 it says, and then on the back you've got this lovely line drawing plus a brief history of the Class. So if you'd like to pause and read that, feel free to. Okay. And then inside here, I think we've just got a bit of paperwork. Most of it is just guff, guarantee and that sort of thing. But we do have this folded up, exploded diagram. And there is quite a lot you can take from this. First of all, just look at that motor. It actually occupies most of the inner body of the loco there. Absolutely huge, nice big flywheel as well. And as you can see, yes, it looks like a reasonably modern mechanism. There is what appears to be a DCC socket on there. Being that this was made in 2001, I'm not sure if that's what that would actually be. However, modern versions of this do have the DCC socket on board, I believe. Whether mine actually does, I can't remember. I have opened this up before, but we shall see. Either way, there it is. And as you can see, this looks really smart. In fact, when I realised that this was made in 2001, I was shocked because the level of detail was that impressive. Either way, I've got a little detail back here, so let me just show you that. So there's not much in here. We have some steps for underneath the cab and also some white painted handrails, which are not fitted. That's really strange. You can see there are holes in the side of the cab to have those fitted. On modern locos, I believe they do come fitted. Possibly it's just because this isn't as secure as the modern blister packaging and they just didn't fit them. But then there are details that are fragile on this, such as the ladder and other bits of hand railing, which are fitted. It's really odd that, but either way, not a problem. So let's just take this out if I can. Okay, I think I got it. So, even though it doesn't have the handrails fitted to the cab or the steps, so it would be incredibly dangerous for any crew trying to get onto this, you can see what a beautiful model this is. In fact, mind-blowingly so, given that this is, you know, about 20 years old. Fantastic. It's also really, really heavy. I'm not sure how much die-cast there is on this. I think everything that you can see, basically all the bodywork and the underframe, is just made of plastic, but there must be a very heavy chassis block on the inside to give it so much weight. I will weigh this in just a second. And also underneath, this base plate isn't plastic, it's actually a solid metal piece, which again contributes to the weight. But yeah, it's a beauty, beautifully detailed, beautifully painted. I will show you some of the details up close in just a second. But first of all, if you were interested in these absolute classic diesel shunters, here's a little bit of history on them. So the Class 08 was a very early, but as I say, very numerous class of British diesel shunter, introduced in 1952. Exactly 996 examples were built over a 10-year period, and they were loosely based on an earlier design from the LMS, the 12033 design, and they looked very similar, but they were of course considerably updated with English electric 6-cylinder engines and dual motors from the same builder. Variations in the design did mean that different motors were used in different engines, and some were designed for higher voltages than others. Most were only capable of reaching a maximum of around 15 miles per hour, which is not very fast, of course. I think some of them could stretch to 20, but most were 15. For many, many years, the 08s could be seen at countless stations and freight yards, and even to this day, roughly 100 remain either in preservation or in use on industrial premises. Among the preserved examples is the first ever built, and that was originally number 13000. I think it's now 13046. A very interesting class. Alright, so there she is then, up close and personal, the very impressive Bachmann 08 Shunter, and I think to say this was made 20 years ago, it is very, very impressive. In fact, if Bachmann were to release this year as an all-new model, I wouldn't say that the level of detail and the features were that behind modern standards. I wouldn't be blown away by it, but I think I'd be reasonably impressed. So the level of detail, as you can probably tell, is amazing, but also the features are pretty impressive and modern as well. So as you've already seen from the instructions, this is not a split chassis loco, as many Bachmann locos at the time were. This does have pickups, not very good ones, we'll talk about that later, and of course a nice big motor with chunky flywheels. It's also got NEM couplings. I mean, the NEM couplings were only really just coming in the early 2000s, or at least 2001, and yet this does have them, so you've got a lot of flexibility in the different couplings that you can use. And as I say, the spec otherwise is really, really good. I mean, we've got sprung buffers, a full detailed cab. In fact, look at the cab there, you've got a fully detailed cab, no paintwork or anything. I guess a modern loco would have a bit more detail inside there, but it's definitely not bad for the age. So let's take a look at some of the features then. We'll talk about the decoration first of all. So we've got the British Railways crest. As you can see, that is absolutely fine, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Similarly, the running number on the side of the cab is very nicely applied, as are lots of the other Tampo printed details. So you've got the little warning signs there. I think the wasp stripes are just incredibly good. Look how crisp those are. No paint bleed whatsoever. It's excellent, especially on the front. As you can see, there's a lot of moulded detail around the front there where that wasp striping is. Probably quite a technical challenge to get that looking really, really crisp, but as you can see, it really does. I also really like the fact that the coupling rods here are separately painted. They just stand out beautifully, don't they? Very, very impressive that. And of course, unlike the cheaper Hornby Railroad 08 shunters, we do have the realistic coupling rods, which are sort of on extensions, and they sit well outside the frame, just like the real 08s did, of course, and that's a really nice touch. The amount of separately fitted detail, even given the fact that the handrails and steps are not fitted to the cab, is quite impressive. So we have, look at all these little tiny handles on all of these service doors along the side there. Those are all separately fitted. We have the separately painted grills there. They're not etched or anything like that, but they are separately painted. And you have got another sort of handrail over the top of that, which is great to see. Around the back, you've got separately fitted lamp irons here, which are very nice fine pieces, as well as what appears to be separately fitted electric lamps as well. I'm assuming that's what those are, and they're also wired in too. We've got these separately fitted wires as well, which look really, really good and fine. Really impressive, as I say, for the age. We have these separately fitted ladders here, which are quite fragile actually. As you can see, they are moving as I'm touching them there. I've had this loco for several years though, and those have not broken off, which shows that if you are careful, they should last, all being well. And below there you can see we do have steps too, and the handrails are separately painted and separately fitted there as well. The front buffer beam, in fact both buffer beams are relatively nicely detailed. You can see there's a lot of moulded detail on those, and as I've already said, the buffers are sprung and they're made of metal as well, which is a great touch. I'm really a big fan of sprung buffers. I know they're useless, I know they're frivolous, I know they're an extra cost, but yeah, there's just something about them that makes models seem more realistic in my opinion. On the side of the cab we have what looks like a steam whistle. I forget now whether the 08s did actually have whistles, but either way that's a nicely separately fitted and metal piece, which is great to see. And along the top you can see there's an awful lot of moulded detail as well, including what I think is an exhaust there. There's an actual physical hole there which leads down inside the body where it's nice and dark. It's good and realistic, is that. The underframe is really good as well. You can see all the suspension springs there moulded on. We have the brake rigging pre-fitted, and you actually have to remove that if you want to take the wheels out. More on that in just a second. And of course we have the separately fitted sanding apparatus as well, which all looks really nice and finely applied. So, a beautiful model, as I'm sure you can tell. It's very, very convincing, isn't it? I've never actually seen a Hornby one, so I don't know how it compares. That is the Hornby Railways one, of course. I have reviewed one of the railroad ones, and you can check out the train set right now if you want to see what a really basic version of this might look like. But yeah, to say this is 20 years old, presumably you will agree that the level of detail is very impressive. Let me know. 2020, how would you rate the level of detail on this loco? For me, I would say it's a solid 4. Although it's not that far off from being a 5. I mean, how could this really be improved? Maybe a bit more paintwork in the cab, perhaps. Maybe we could see some etched grills or something like that. Yeah, there's not a huge list, is there really? Although I'm sure people that are more of an expert on the 08s than I am could probably extend that list a little bit. But either way, certainly not bad to my untrained eyes. So let's get this down onto the track. We'll talk a little bit about performance. It's not all fun and games where performance is concerned, but it's not terrible either. So let's get this down onto the track and I'll talk to you about it. So there she is then, Bachmann's 08, looking fantastic down onto the track. Now where the mechanism is concerned, there are a couple of aspects which are really, really impressive, and a few aspects which are really silly and I wish weren't a thing. So let's get through a few of those then. The first really nice aspect is the weight. This weighs in at 253 grams, which is a lot more than some locos that I have, which are much larger than this. For example, it's more than Hornby's Adam radial tank, it's more than the Drummond 700 class. In fact, it's only around 20 grams lighter than the Hornby 4P tank, which is probably twice the size. It's really, really heavy, and as a result, the pulling power is fantastic. I measured 0.3 newtons of tractive effort, which should mean around 20 coaches on straight level track. That is quite amazing. In fact, that is the highest power I've ever measured on an 060 shunting locomotive, or any 060, I believe. Very, very impressive. The other good thing is that it's not a split chassis loco. As I've already said, it does actually use pickups, but the pickups is one thing that really frustrates me about this, because rather than the pickups touching the back of the wheel flanges, the pickups actually touch the tops of the wheels on the actual wheel surface, which means that as the loco runs, those pickups get really, really dirty and they quickly become in need of a clean. In fact, you'll notice that the loco will start to sort of stutter on certain curves, and perhaps when it goes over points. It really starts to become a problem after only a few hours of running. And to clean the pickups, of course, then you have to take out the wheels, which isn't very easy because of the coupling rods being outside the frames. So you actually have to dismantle all of the brake rigging, and I think it also said on the instructions the sanding pipes as well. You have to take all that off the model, take the wheels out, and clean the pickups every single time the loco starts running badly, which is quite often, as I say, given that the pickups touch the surface of the wheels. Not a very, very good feature, that. Also, as you can see, there are no proper bearings on the wheel set. The axles do sit straight into the chassis, which is a little bit of a shame because it's quite a heavy loco. There could be quite a lot of force on those axles, which is not something you want really. The motor, as we saw on the instructions, has a really nice big flywheel on it. I don't know whether it's a 3 or 5 pole motor, but as we're going to see, that doesn't really matter because of the next thing I want to talk about, and that is the gearing. Bachmann have paid attention to the fact that these locos could only run at 15 to 20 miles per hour in real life, and they've reflected that in the gearing. So as a result, even at the highest speeds, this loco doesn't run very fast, which means A, it's a bit more realistic, and B, there's a lot more torque at the slower speeds, which means this loco should be able to do an amazing crawl. With that then, let's give this a little bit of a test. Let's see how it goes. Let me set this forwards, and let's see what the crawl is like. Now this has already been running, so this is basically as you can expect it, although as I say, mine's 20 years old, so perhaps a newer model would be a bit better than this. But as you can see, it is now crawling unbelievably slowly. And when you consider the size of the motor and the size of the flywheel, the fact that this is able to crawl so well and so slowly is very impressive. If the loco was geared to run much faster than this, then you wouldn't be seeing such a good result here. But as you can see, it is very, very smooth. The performance is wonderful. As you can see, that is just incredibly smooth. It could be more so, I guess, if there were proper bearings in the chassis, but as you can see, just incredibly controlled at the slow speeds. And because of the size of the flywheel, if I set it to medium speed and then cut the power, you can see that it slows down really gradually. It's impossible to make the wheels lock up on this loco in an unrealistic fashion, which is really nice. Yeah, it's a really good runner. The mechanism, it's okay, it's average. The performance, well up there, easily worthy of a 5-star. Absolutely wonderful. Now, I've made some quite bold claims about the pulling power of this engine, so I thought it would be best to prove them. So I've set up quite a big rake of wagons. There's probably 15 or 20 there, including a very heavy Queen Mary brake van at the back, which you will see. So without any further ado, let's set the direction and get her to couple to them, see if the couplings are at the right height. As you can also hear, very little noise coming from this loco. It's really nice and quiet. Okay, has it got the wagons? Yes, it has. Right, so let me set it to a moderate speed then. That's probably about right, isn't it? And as you can see, she's hauling them as though there was nothing coupled to her at all. Absolutely incredible how powerful this loco is, very much so. So today's theme is going to be 060 shunting locomotives, both steam and diesel, so be sure to look out, see which ones you can spot. There is an odd one out to that theme if you want to try and spot it. Next up though, on the actual running session, I'm going to be running this. I think this is the 03 shunter, or is it the 04? I always get mixed up. Whichever it is, let me know. I'll put up a poll. It's got a bit of it. That was a cop-out, wasn't it? It's got a bit of a tanker train then, looking really good. Again, not a bad loco, but this one's far inferior to the 08 because it's split chassis, not that great a runner. But as you can tell, it's managing those tankers quite nicely. And then on the inside line, we have the, well, it's not a Bachmann at all, in fact. This is an Oxford Janus. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. It actually has the nicest mechanism of the 3 locos that I'm going to be running today. 5-pole motor, proper bearings, etc, etc. I'm not sure about flywheel on this, but this one does run particularly nicely. Maybe this one's assembling a train of coaches or something, I guess, because it's got some XLMS coaches there. But I'll let it carry on about its business. Anyway, enjoy the running session. We'll check on the 08 up Gordon's Hill, and hopefully it will have managed all those wagons up it. Alright, well, we'll see. I think she's going to do it with no problem, surely, because there was no wheel slip at all when she started off. Oh, you can see a little bit of a stutter there on that curve. Yeah, I reckon that's the pickups already. Such a shame about the pickups. I do have to wonder, though, whether more recent releases have been improved. Obviously, mine's from 2001. We know that the latest versions are DCC ready, or at least I'm pretty sure they are. What else has been changed? So if you know, let me know down in the comments. But as far as the pulling power is concerned, as you can see, there was no hesitation there whatsoever. A very impressive puller. And that Queen Mary weighs several wagons worth just on its own. It's very heavy, that. Yeah, difficult to complain really, isn't it? Yeah, I think this has got to be easily one of the strongest performers. I don't just mean strength in terms of pulling power, although that's true as well, but just strongest all-round performer, really. Beautifully smooth, really quiet, very powerful, and a great crawler. What more could you ask for? And a good price too, I suppose. £100 suddenly doesn't seem too bad at all for these. And the second-hand price, I should say, is even better. I don't think I paid £100 for mine, although I've had it a few years. Yeah, anything less than £100 sounds good in my book for this. I do like that Janus as well, but it's perhaps not quite got the finesse that the Bachmann 08's got. Perhaps not. Look at that. It does justice to the 08 Shunter, doesn't it? That's coming from a steam fan. Yeah, I love this thing. I love it. Beautiful runner. It's a crying shame that I don't run it more often. In fact, I will have to. I'll think of some excuses to run it. If you can think of any, let me know. But yeah, it's just outstandingly good. Provided you're willing to maintain it, of course. But of course I am. So here are some of my ratings then for the Bachmann 08 Shunter. The level of detail I thought was really, really good. We've got the sprung buffers, we've got the cab detail, not painted, but cab detail nonetheless. A whole plethora of different separately fitted parts, and of course the decoration was top notch. I think it's pretty much up to modern standards really, give or take. I have seen more detailed locos, but I have given it a 4-star there. The performance though I think is absolutely amazing, and I would say that's mostly to do with the gearing. Because the loco runs nice and slowly, as is prototypical, a lot of the motor's speed is converted basically into torque, particularly at the slow speed, which allows the loco to be really powerful and also really good at crawling, which is really excellent. It's also very powerful, as you could see. 20 coaches this thing can haul, as well as quite a lot of wagons. That is the same as the C1 Atlantic from Bachmann, and also the Hornby Thompson 01, which is a 280 freight locomotive. Very powerful. The mechanism though I have just given a 3-star, mainly because it doesn't have any proper bearings on the wheel set, which given the loco's weight is a little bit of a shame, and also because of the pickups, as I've already explained. Not a very good system of picking up power, unfortunately, and already in fact mine has started to cut out on various parts of the track. The pickups need a clean. The quality then, I've given this loco 4-star. Overall, the quality was absolutely fine, really well assembled, really nicely decorated. The only things I would criticise are obviously the mechanism. Yeah, some bearings, a bit better quality there would have been good, and perhaps a little bit more metal. If the underframe was made of metal, that would have made the loco feel a little bit better quality, and then it would have been incredibly heavy. That would have been just amazing. But overall, yeah, I would say it's above average where quality is concerned, definitely a 4-star there. The value for money then now, £125 for this these days does sound a little bit on the expensive side, although as I say, I do fully expect that Bachmann will have made some upgrades since mine was made. But either way, for the retailer's price of about £99, that's what you can get these for at Rails of Sheffield, for example, I think that is absolutely fine. It's more than reasonable, isn't it? So I've given that a 4-star as well. Overall then, that is a very respectable 8.29 out of 10, but I think it does deserve that because it is impressive, as you could tell. Into the logbook it goes then. There it is, 8, just above the Hornby TTS Tornado and below the Hornby Adams radial tank. Yeah, it deserves to be in the top 10, definitely. After all these years, it's still an impressive model. So one of the biggest questions on my mind then is, how does Hornby's 08 Shunter compare? I think it's newer than Bachmann's. Is it more detailed? Does it perform better? I'd struggle to believe that. So, would you guys like me to review the Hornby version? And there's also an O-gauge version made by Dapol. Would you like to see that instead? Let me know which you'd prefer. Or maybe I'll put a both on there as well. Maybe I could look at both. So, as I'm sure you can tell, it's an absolutely splendid model. Yeah, there are more detailed locos out there. I'm not saying it's the best you can ever find and the most inexpensive, etc, etc. Yes, there are better models out there, but I think all things considered, price being one of them, age being another, it's difficult to go wrong, like I keep saying. I'm really impressed by that, and I think it was well worth my time revisiting it, so hope you guys like that. Oh, what's happened to that Queen Mary? Oh, that one runs for it, doesn't it? Look at that go. Okay then folks, well I hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. I thoroughly enjoyed that, more than I expected to actually. I had definitely forgotten, or perhaps never realised, just what a good loco this one was. Not perfect of course, the mechanism lets it down very slightly, but not by much. And the performance, I would argue, probably makes up for it. But overall, let me know what you thought in the comments. I hope you liked it too. As I say, thank you for your company, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one, hopefully with something a bit different. Alright folks, you take care of yourselves. Cheers everybody.